My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. Last week, eviction notices were served, and today the plants get cut down. This is the Wisteria black dragon that I no longer want to grow. It's not the flower color shape that I want, so I'm going to sacrifice it and remove it from the garden. Now while I'm up here, I'm going to also prune the golden hop to my right, because you want to spend a minimum of time up a ladder. And if you're not comfortable up a ladder, don't put yourself in a situation where you've got to hold on with one hand and then prune with the other. Get somebody else to do it. Please stay safe. Now the reason I went up and cut that wisteria was so that I could get a very clear view of a screw that held the mechanism onto the house. And I used a wire cable, and that's what the wisteria went through. Here you can see the termination. The screw went through that hole into my house. And here we have a tightening structure that stops it going slack. I'm very carefully now undoing that screw, and rather than releasing the wisteria immediately, I want to make sure it's not caught on a gutter or caught on the ladder. So I just give it a little bit of a shake. I can see it's free, and then very gently it gets laid down onto the beech hedge. You've now got the wisteria at the safest place to work on. So I want to encourage you to get up a ladder if you're capable, but spend a minimum amount of time up that ladder. Get the wisteria on the ground, and this is where you can start to work on it, cutting it into smaller, manageable sized pieces. Now I've got some loppers, long-handled loppers, and they really were put to work here. Some of the stems were 1.5 inches, maybe 1.75 inches in diameter, and I had to really persevere to cut them. But piece by piece, you can cut this into manageable pieces, which make it much easier to handle. And there we are. I've got my wisteria cut down. Now it was able to grow under a window and then over the door frame. And bearing in mind that this is further distance away from the root, these branches are smaller. And I used the decomposable garden twine, so when you pull it, it will readily snap and release the plant. I will of course go over here and remove some of the screws that I had holding the framework in place. But there we are. In a very short period of time, we've got the wisteria on the ground, and it's cut up into manageable sized pieces. And it really does, it did take up a lot of space. There's a lot more light in this area now. I'm lucky that I've got a little pickup truck, so I can load up all of that wisteria. And I have to say that this job might seem intimidating, but from start to finish, with the right tools and a bit of a strategy and a plan, it took me 45 minutes to set the ladder, cut the wisteria down, and then load it into the back of my truck. And it's done. It's not a big job. So don't make this out to be something very difficult or very, very time consuming. The right tools, the right equipment, and the right strategy, and before you know it, you've got that wisteria off your property, and it looks great. And I have to say, my wife is very, very happy. Next up on the eviction list was the tree dahlia. This will flower late in the season, but it's been reliably flowering too late to really bring any interest to my garden. It's just not performing the way that I want. But when people start to remove plants like this, a lot of the material can be used for propagation. And I know that I keep on about propagating, but it's a great way to get free plants. With a tree dahlia, you can take a stem cutting, and what I do is I break off and I cut off the side shoots, and this will help reduce transpiration. It stops the plant drying out before it puts out roots. If you put that in a little pot with some potting mix and a plastic bag over it, give it a bit of heat, it will root quite nicely. So we then continue with the dahlia. There's also the hibiscus that will get removed, but I just want to talk about that wisteria root. That wisteria root will get dug up. I will cut it back, And I might even show it to you once I've dug it out. And that will be a bit more of a job, but it still needs to be done to do the job properly. Don't forget to dig out the wisteria. Here's hibiscus. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Happy planting.